Hi, my name is Scott Tilley, and I'm going to be doing my Education Giant report on Jean-Jacques Rousseau. And he was born in 1712, and he died in 1778, and he grew up in Geneva, Sweden. And his father was Isaac Rousseau, and he was a watchmaker. And back then, the watchmakers were kind of like a high up in society, so his father was pretty well known in Geneva. His mom, Suzanne, she died 9 days after she gave birth to Rousseau of puerperal fever. And so Jean was raised by his father and his aunt. Um, Jean had lots of recollections of learning to read, but he remembered how when he was 5 or 6, his father encouraged his love for reading. And he said, every night after supper, we read some part of a small collection of romances, which had been my mother's. My father's design was only to improve me in reading, and he thought these entertaining works were calculated to give me a fondness for it. But we soon found ourselves so interested in the adventures they contained that we alternately read whole nights together, and could not bear to give over until the conclusion of a volume. Sometimes in the morning, on hearing the swallows on our window, my father, quite ashamed of this weakness, would cry, "Come, come, let us go to bed. I am more a child than thou art." And that came from a confessions book that he wrote, and it's actually his autobiography. And that's where a lot of his people that are studying him, doctors and things, that's where they get a lot of their information. And then while they were in Geneva, they actually got into a legal fight. So they had to move to this place called Nyon. And from that point on, Jean saw very little of his father, so he was mainly being taken care of by his aunt. And his father, in the meantime, got remarried, and his aunt moved him to and his brother to a Calvinist minister outside Geneva. And here the two boys they picked up reading and writing and math and drawing. And Jean also liked lots of the religious aspect of the learning, and he once dreamed of becoming a Protestant minister. And at age 13, he became a notary, but then soon after, he was replaced by another boy. So he actually ran away from Geneva and he tried to come back, but the gates to the city were locked. So he was taken in by a Roman Catholic priest, and while he was there, there was a Protestant noblewoman who was actually paid to convert people to be Protestants to Catholicism. So while he was there, he was converted, and this resulted in him giving up his Genevan citizenship. Um, Next, a lot of his philosophy had to deal with things that were innate and the nature of the people, and he especially emphasized like morality, and he believed that morality was like not a social construct but natural. So Rousseau never believed that humans in a state of nature act morally. Proper morality and self-restraint can only develop through careful education in a civil state. So that was really interesting to see that the society around us was changing our ways of acting morally. And he also related the natural man to that of like a chimp being trained to act a certain way even though he's like wild. One of my favorite parts that he said in one of his books, he said, he believed that the correct view of the universe is to see oneself not at the center of things, but rather on the circumference, with all people realizing that we have a common center. And I thought this related a lot to the gospel also. But I really liked how it taught us to be selfless and look towards others. He also believed that there was a constant theme of nature and even the emotional faculty of pity. And Rousseau argues that the arts and sciences have not been beneficial to humankind because they arose not from authentic human needs, but rather as a result of pride and vanity, which is really interesting to hear from a philosopher that had that point of view. Rousseau argued that we are inherently good, but we become corrupted by the evils of society. He believed we were born good and that it was our natural state to be good. Through attempting attending to nature, we are more likely to live the life of virtue. Jean Rousseau was interested in people being natural. He believed we are born capable of sensation and from birth are affected in diverse ways by the objects around us. As soon as we become aware of these sensations, he believed that we were like inclined to avoid the objects that cause these sensations because they arguable are disagreeable to us, or later we discover that they suit or do not suit us. These inclinations extended and strengthened with the growth of sensibility and intelligence, but under the pressure of habit, they are changed to some extent with our opinions. And this came from his Emile book, and he believes from the first moment of life, men ought to begin learning to deserve to live, and as at the instant of birth, we partake of the rights of citizenship. That instant ought to be the beginning of the exercise of our duty. Rousseau argued that the momentum for learning was provided by the growth of the person, and that what the educator needed to do was to facilitate opportunities for learning. So he also talked about how the teacher needs to be providing students with opportunities to learn in good environments. Uh, and they also quoted Rousseau on education, saying that now each of these factors in education is wholly beyond our control. Things are only partly in our power. The education of man is the only one controlled by us. And even here our power is largely illusory. For who can hope to direct every word and deed of all with whom the child has to do? And this tied back into how he said that everything was natural and that we were all had this innate power within us. And that is my project on Jean-Jacques Rousseau.